Maria never imagined her world could shatter in a single morning. Her husband, Raj, left without a warning, leaving behind only a short note: "I can't do this anymore." Alone in a cramped apartment with two children, Arav, just 5, and Mira, 2, she stared at the letter for hours, numb and confused. The reality hit slowly, like waves crashing on a shore. Rent was due, groceries were low, and she had no job. Family was far away, and pride stopped her from calling. That night, she fed her kids with the last remaining rice and cried silently while they slept. She didn't hate Raj, she just didn't understand. What would she tell the children when they asked for their father? Her world was collapsing, but somewhere inside, a fire began to kindle. She didn't know how she'd survive, but one thing was clear: she had to. For her children. The next morning, Maria woke up early with a pounding heart and an empty fridge. She opened her laptop, searched for part-time jobs, and found a nearby cafe hiring for a morning shift. With no one to watch her children, she carried Mira on her hip and held Arav's hand as they walked to the cafe. She pleaded with the manager, explaining her situation with quiet dignity. He hesitated but offered her a cleaning position during off-peak hours. Maria accepted it without thinking twice. The pay was low, but it was a start. Over the next few weeks, she juggled work, daycare, and unpaid bills. Some days, all she ate was leftover toast from the cafe. Yet she kept smiling in front of her children. They were her strength and her reason. She kept a journal, writing every dream she had for their future. "This is just the beginning," she wrote. One evening, while scrolling through her journal, Maria remembered her college days when she dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. The passion had long been buried under diapers and responsibilities. But now, it returned with force. She had a basic sewing machine in storage, a gift from her late mother. After putting the kids to bed, she dusted it off and began stitching again. At first, just simple baby clothes from old fabrics. Then she started posting photos on a free Facebook page she titled Mama Thread. It didn't take long for the first order to come in, just a small baby frock. She packed it neatly and delivered it herself. The customer was delighted and recommended her to a friend. Maria realized she had something. Nights became longer, work harder, but she didn't stop. Her hands were calloused, her back ached, but her eyes sparkled. She was chasing her forgotten dream again. Maria's sewing business slowly began to grow. Word of mouth brought new customers each week, and soon she was sewing custom clothes for babies, toddlers, and even maternity wear. Every sale was a tiny victory. She used brown paper bags for packaging and handwrote thank you notes. Customers loved the personal touch. She reinvested every rupee she made, buying better fabrics, colorful threads, and even a second-hand mannequin for photos. Arav and Mira often played at her feet as she stitched. They didn't understand how hard it was, but they hugged her every night, saying, "You're the best mommy." Those moments made everything worthwhile. She still worked at the cafe to cover fixed expenses, but her eyes were on the horizon. She dreamt of opening a small boutique one day. Not just for herself, but to show her kids what resilience looked like. Maria was no longer surviving, she was building. Not everything came easy. Just when things seemed stable, the cafe shut down unexpectedly, leaving her without a steady paycheck. Her landlord raised the rent, and her daughter fell ill with a fever that wouldn't break. Maria spent sleepless nights tending to Mira while fulfilling orders during the day. She borrowed money from a neighbor and promised to pay it back within the month. One of her large orders got delayed because the fabric supplier failed to deliver on time. The customer canceled, and she lost a week's worth of income. There were days when giving up seemed easier. But she would look at her sleeping kids and whisper, "One more day." Each struggle became a lesson: how to manage time better, where to buy affordable fabric, how to budget tightly. The world threw storms at her, but Maria had become the kind of woman who learned how to dance in the rain. Things began to shift when a local mommy blogger featured Mama Thread on her Instagram. Overnight, Maria's follower count grew, and orders poured in. She could no longer keep up with demand alone. She hired 2 women from her neighborhood, both single mothers like her, to help with stitching and packaging. What started as survival had become a purpose. She trained them, paid them fairly, and together they worked from her tiny living room, now converted into a mini workshop. She updated her brand, created a logo, and even built a small website with the help of an online course. Mama Thread was no longer just a side hustle, it was a mission. People loved her story, and many customers became loyal supporters. One evening, Arav came home from school and said, "My friend's mom ordered from you." Maria smiled with pride. Her children were watching her rise and they were proud. As the business grew, Maria didn't forget her roots. She started a weekly sewing workshop at the community center to teach other women how to earn from home. Empowered women empower women, she told them. Her story inspired many who were stuck in hopeless marriages or struggling with joblessness. Local media picked up her story, and a small news feature titled "Single Mother Turns Struggle into Success" went viral. She received messages from women across the country, thanking her for giving them hope. Maria responded to each one personally. Her kids often sat beside her as she replied, learning about kindness and resilience. What once was pain had become purpose. Her past didn't define her anymore, it fueled her. For the first time in years, Maria felt truly alive. She was no longer the woman who was left behind, she was the woman who stood tall and lifted others. Arav and Mira had grown into confident, kind, and emotionally intelligent children. They watched their mother work tirelessly and learned the value of hard work. Arav once told his teacher, "My mom is a superhero," and Mira drew pictures of Maria sewing, always with a heart on her shirt. Maria made sure their lives weren't just about survival, she celebrated birthdays, helped with school projects, and told bedtime stories with happy endings. She couldn't buy expensive toys or fancy clothes, but she gave them something richer: love, stability, and inspiration. She often reminded them, "We may not have everything, but we have each other." The kids thrived. Teachers praised their manners and creativity. Maria knew her sacrifices were shaping their future. She wasn't just building a business, she was raising future leaders. And in their eyes, she wasn't just a mother. She was a warrior. A queen without a crown, but royalty nonetheless. 5 years after Raj walked out, Maria stood in front of her own boutique's ribbon, holding the scissors with trembling hands. Her children stood beside her, clapping. The small store had glass windows, pastel walls, and racks filled with her designs. A sign outside read "Mama Thread, crafted with love." The mayor himself attended the opening, praising her courage and community work. As she cut the ribbon, tears streamed down her cheeks, not of sadness, but of triumph. She had turned pain into power, and emptiness into abundance. Life hadn't been fair, but she had made it beautiful anyway. Customers lined up, and her team of women, now 6 in total, stood proudly behind the counter. Maria looked at her children and whispered, "This is for you." It wasn't about revenge or proving someone wrong. It was about rising, for herself and her babies. And she had risen higher than she ever imagined.